name is Reese.
Hi, my name is Riley.
And welcome to the Reese Riley Review. Today we have our 4 guests. We'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Brian Miles from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
I'm Todd McCartney from New Hampshire.
JT Kuzier from Ohio.
Aloha, Bob Hours from Florida.
And they're part of the Retro Disney World podcast. Go ahead.
Right. So they're our guests today. And we just went on the boat tour, which was really fun. We got our t-shirts and everything. Riley, do you have anything to say? You're quiet over here.
We got
Come on,
we got this Captain and Tennille feel now.
Yeah.
It's going really well for me.
She's my
But one of the things that we like to do when we try to go to a different hotel lobby, last month we went to the Polynesian, we sat on the beach and we did our 10 favorite things. We didn't want to do 10 because that'd be a bit much. You guys are busy. So we were just going to ask everyone to kind of pick their favorite one thing about the Polynesian, about the Contemporary hotel room, which we're in the lobby of today.
Yeah,
and
by the way, we're here.
kind of everybody give us a memory or their favorite thing, their top favorite or 2 things about their hotel. Do you want to, Riley, why don't you go first? Tell us your favorite thing and then we'll ask everyone to go on. But make sure you speak into the microphone. Your favorite thing about the Contemporary is?
I like during Christmas time where they have the gingerbread castle thing.
Oh, the
That
gingerbread
right now,
wall
I
over
think.
by the big painting, yes.
Yes, downstairs.
It smells nice.
We'll save yours for last. We'll start with our guests. You want to go ahead and tell us, give us a figure of 1 or your 2 favorite things about the Contemporary.
Sure. I'm going to pick 2 because I want to make it harder for the last of us to come up with things. First is in the Grand Canyon Concourse, obviously the Mary Blair mural, which was designed for this resort, which originally had a southwestern theme. So it has endured through all of the redesigns. The other thing that I love is the ability to walk on the pathway to the Magic Kingdom from here, so that you don't have to avail yourself of transportation. It's about a 5 to 7 minute walk, and it's delightful to get to the turnstiles.
I feel like that's like a little known secret. People, if you want to park at the Contemporary and then walk
Oh, boy.
to the main gate, yes, that's a thing.
You don't know.
Go
All
ahead.
right, I love the feeling of the Grand Canyon Concourse and also where the monorail pulls in, going down that narrow little escalator. A lot of memories with my family coming down here and going there, and just the feeling of sitting in the lounge area and looking up and seeing the monorail go by. I think that's definitely my favorite. And I love the approach on the monorail too. It's like flying when you're coming in. You're so high up over the cars.
I think at this point now, after 45 years, we kind of take it for granted that a monorail goes through a hotel. That's still pretty amazing.
It's still pretty cool.
And when you see it with a little kid for the first time, it kind of blows their mind, and you forget, like, oh yeah, that is pretty amazing. I forgot about that.
So this hotel is where my son experienced the monorail ride for the very first time, and I will never forget his words, which were, "Whee! This is fun!" as we went down towards the TTC.
Okay, now we'll break it up in the middle by you telling us your favorite thing.
My favorite thing is probably the arcade here, although I heard the old one was better. It's still
Yeah.
pretty cool.
See, that's kind of attached to my favorite memory, which was the arcade used to be in the basement, and it was open for 24 hours a day, I believe. And there used to be a batting cage in there that was chained. It was chained off. You'd put the coins in. Yeah, there were still coins back then, or tokens, and you'd get to the softball batting cage would go, and you'd score points. But that's my greatest memory, because when we were in the Scouts, we would go camping at Fort Wilderness. And it was the first taste of freedom I ever had, where I could go off with other friends, stay here until 2 in the morning or whatever the last boat or bus was, which we may have missed one
12
time.
o'clock, I think.
And then just stay in the arcade all night. It was a great, great memory.
It was the Fiesta Fun Center.
Fiesta Fun
that's
Center,
it,
yes.
yeah.
Now it's the Wave. Is that the restaurant called the Wave?
Yeah.
Did you ever do the shooting gallery?
Yes, the shooting gallery, of
Shooting
course. Unheard of these days.
And then there was also a small bowling alley in there too at one point.
I don't remember
Remember the
that.
bowl?
They have a small bowling game in the arcade, but that's about all we have.
Yes, yes.
Speaking of the arcade, I think they just got new skee ball machines.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
This
we
is
were up
breaking
there
news. New
early.
skee ball machines are into the arcade on the 4th floor, yes. You have a favorite memory?
I have 2. First one, obviously, is the chest of drawers construction.
Of course.
Totally awesome. Love how that's like throwback. My second thing is like a memory, because we'd stay at Fort Wilderness, so it was coming here on the boat, seeing the crazy Contemporary resort, and just opening up to a new place, getting on the monorail, resort hopping from here. This was sort of the start point for us, so that's mine.
Very good memory.
Yeah. So, because I'm so retro focused, it's like I have 2 things here that I really, really still like. One is, so you've probably all seen like the red Contemporary resort sign from the late 80s, early 90s that's out there. But as you turn the corner to pull into the parking lot, the original sign that's cement inserted A-frame that says Contemporary Resort Dash Hotel with metal lettering is still out there. So for some reason there's 2 signs, but they've retained that retro one. And then The other thing that I really like is there's one chunk of the old Grand Canyon Concourse buildings, or like the construction inside, that still exists. So if you walk past the like Mickey Ears, like central shop, past this sundry shop, and head towards the window and turn right, there are these corrugated sort of like wooden walls that are actually original 1970s. Somehow that one piece of wall has managed to survive all of the renovations, and it's still there. So there is a tiny little chunk of what was the old original Grand Canyon Concourse still hanging out down there.
Something about this hotel that, and one of you had mentioned it on the podcast before, about when I come out of an elevator, I get turned around. One of you had mentioned that before, where like, I don't know which way is which. Like, if I was to come out of the elevator,
that was me. I'm even today. We came down here. I said, I don't even know where I'm going.
Right. If I came out of the elevator and somebody said, "Where's the castle?" I couldn't tell you which side it's on.
That's why he wasn't driving the boat.
That's right. JT had the boat. Yeah.
None of you mentioned that one of my favorite things also is to go to the roof and watch the fireworks. That's always a very big deal because you're almost, I can't say eye level with the explosion of the fireworks, but it's pretty amazing what you can see from up there.
It is. You get a phenomenal view of the Magic Kingdom from there too.
I tried to propose at the roof, but we weren't having it that day, so we went downtown Orlando anyway. It's a great story. It's really a great story. But, okay, what other kind of questions we have? I know they don't have a lot of time. Anything about their podcast you want to ask about? You can find their podcast, of course, on iTunes at RetroDisneyWorldPodcast.com also.
RetroDisneyWorld.com or podcast at, RetroWDW.com. We're on iTunes and Google Play.
Any shows that you've listened to recently where you thought, I know you guys, by the way, thank you. You answer Reese's emails all the time when she writes in. And we came off of a camping trip last year. And when you leave Disney, like you leave after a 3-day camping trip, and I go back to work and I'm sitting in my edit bay, it's like it's still with you. Yep. So I had a free time and I just did a Google search for Fort Wilderness Campgrounds podcast, just to see if anything came up. And then that's how I found you guys. You had just done an episode on the campgrounds. And then I was like, Reese, you got to hear this. And then she just became the hugest fan. She's listened to all the episodes. That's not how you remember finding it. I was at work listening to it, and then I have a friend at work who's also the same way, and he's listened to all your episodes now too because we're big Disney fans. What's your memory of that?
My memory is finding their Instagram page first, and I think I actually commented something. I actually commented something like, "Where do I find this podcast? It sounds amazing. What is this?" You can probably find that in there somewhere, one of the posts. But yeah, that's how I found it.
There you go. We can thank JT for the Instagram. He's the Instagram man.
He's our social media guru.
That's right.
We're sitting outside the Ballroom of the Americas, which it's funny when you mentioned bowling alley. There used to be a bowling alley downstairs, and who was the first president who installed a bowling alley in the White House? Was that Nixon who did that?
Truman actually.
Truman did that. Truman did the bowling alley.
A resident history.
There goes my tie in there. I was going to tie it into the room that we're outside.
But the famous photo is Nixon bowling in the bowling alley.
That's what it was.
In his wingtips, but
it's hard. The cameras aren't facing that way, but you want to let us know the ballroom
we're
we're outside
across from
of.
the Ballroom of the Americas, where Richard Nixon addressed, I think it was the National Press Association in 1973, and gave his famous "I am not a crook" speech. Also, at the end of this hallway is one of the best, most secluded bathrooms in Walt Disney World.
To everyone.
So right down here at the end,
George Costanza here.
So if you're ever looking for it, that's the
You
spot.
just assume when you come up the escalator, it's like, no, that's a dead end. I'm
Yeah,
not
it's
going to
a
come
dead
down
end.
here.
No, it's a
Little did you
beautiful
know, there's
square.
restrooms and history
Yes.
here that nobody knew about. We poked our head in there a couple of months ago just to see, and there wasn't anything going on. And one of the women who was working in there said, it's the only hall here in the Contemporary that actually has a stage. It's the only one. I guess that's the reason why they chose it, perhaps, for Nixon.
And speaking of history, I actually asked my history teacher the other day. I showed him a picture of the sign that I took, and I said, "Do you know what famous speech was given here?" And he actually had no idea.
She stumped him.
So,
She stumped
what
him.
kind of history teacher is that? I mean, you don't know where that is.
Yeah, you're supposed to know everything,
Reese,
teacher.
you know, maybe
Before,
I'm
I
just
know
watching
they've got to
this.
get going. Why don't you show them? Reese
Oh,
drew some
right,
pictures
right.
for you guys.
Right.
She wanted you guys to have
Awesome.
prizes for everything. We love the podcast. You want to explain to them as you pass them
Yep,
out. What's
that's
the first
the-
one you passed out to the microphone?
That's the orange bird in lime green pants, should I mention, at the golf resort.
Very good. What else
All
you
of my
have?
favorite things.
This one is for How down there.
I love the hat.
Explain that one that you just passed down.
Yes.
Well, it's the Cereal Sisters, obviously.
I think I'm gonna have some competition for T-shirt designer. For this year.
She's been.
I see how it is.
Where she's.
What else you have?
This one's for JT.
Yes,
JT?
JT reading the mail.
Classical mail.
It's your mail.
He's reading the mail.
That's
And
awesome.
probably the one with the best joke in it.
Go ahead, tell us
It's
what
the
that-
McFarkles.
The
Oh,
McFarkles family! Oh my gosh.
So I want to amend or add an addendum to our favorite memories of the contemporary will be this interview with Reese and Riley.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you so much. Now, the guys are busy because they're part of the D23 convention right now. There's a lot going on. I'm sure you'll be talking about that on your next show or the show after that. You already have the next show planned out.
Yeah, we'll
Might hit on it or what? Are we gonna do a whole show on D23?
Well, no. We'll touch that on the news, but on our next episode is going to be on the anniversary celebrations at Walt Disney World.
A lot
So
of
we'll be
going on.
touching on the 5th, the 10th centennial, the 15th, 20th, and of course the 25th with that
25th.
glorious cake castle.
We were talking about that on our boat. I mentioned that I used to shoot weddings out here, and when the wedding pavilion was built and the bride and groom would face each other to say their vows, the castle would be right directly outside the window, and it was a birthday cake. So most of those brides weren't having that, so that's when they put up the stained glass for that period of time. And 45th anniversary of the Fort Wilderness Campgrounds is today.
Oh, yeah, I
Today's
heard
the
about
actual
that.
anniversary. I didn't realize it didn't open on opening day.
No.
But then you guys had mentioned that before. I had you on your
Well,
show.
we had
How
mentioned
that kind of got thrown together.
Got thrown together. The apocryphal story, if it's true, was about 2 months before park opening.
And somebody said,
Somebody
hey,
was getting an
where's-
update, and they asked Dick Nunes, the president of the park, how's the campground coming? And he said, what campground?
Uh-huh.
And so they quick cleared some land and opened up just some tent sites and one service building.
One of
And
my
everything
favorite-
else got added later.
One of my favorite places to go, and I don't know if you'd mentioned it or not, the cabins now are a big chunk of them are gone, and they're selling them somewhere, and they moved them off site because I think the Winnebago sites, they're so popular they can't. It's always sold out here. We had to book our Thanksgiving. We're going to be there for Thanksgiving for 5 days.
Woo.
We had to book it like 9 or 10 months in advance.
Oh, yeah.
Because it sells out. We tried to do it for Thanksgiving last year, and
holidays
we tried, and they were like, no, try again next year. You missed out. So we're doing a big outdoor Thanksgiving with all of our families, and I think the weather's going to be really good for us.
That's good.
Any other final questions before they go? I know they got to get
Ask
going.
away. Like,
That's about it. I'll
This
probably
is-
send it in an email after your episode.
JT loves the emails.
Thank you so much for
Send a
being a
lot.
part of it. I know you got to head back to D23. We love the podcast. Keep going, keep it at it, because we're going to keep listening. Next big family trip we go on, we'll just do another 8-hour tear of episodes. And you know what? Repeat listening on those are good, because there's a lot of fun facts being thrown at you, and there's things that you forget.
and that's one of the reasons that we're doing it too, is that we're hoping that this podcast stays with everybody for a long period of time. It's not just a flash in the pan, that if you want to learn something about it, you pick the episode you listen to, learn about something, and have it there for a long time.
Great, thank you so much. Anything else you want to say? I'm trying to think of a good closing here. What do we say to close?
He's the announcer.
Yeah.
We can let Brian do his thing.
Brian, take us out.
Yeah, Brian.
Here, let me
Yes.
get, hang on, let me get Brian the Bob Barker mic there.
Yeah. All right. So I'll do
Gotta
the
be
intro,
fancy.
and then.
Game show.
All right, guys, and with that, this is the Reese and Riley review, and Brian, take us out.
Follow Reese and Riley on, where can they find you first?
Facebook, YouTube.
Facebook,
Facebook,
YouTube on
YouTube.
Reese Riley Review.
Reese
YouTube.
Riley Review.
On
YouTube.
All right. And
Good
from up
plug.
here, follow Todd McCartney and Retro Disney World on Twitter and Instagram at RetroWDW. Also on the web at RetroWDW.com. Follow JT Kujar at LS1JT, Hal Bowers at Go Away Green, and you can find me on Twitter and Facebook at Brian P. Miles.
Wow.
There we go.
And background
Say
music.
goodbye. Say your
Bye.
goodbye.
Thanksgiving,
Bye.
everybody.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.